All right, Heartbeats, welcome to Heartbeat Station, where we interview holistic practitioners and their different modalities. I am, as usual, with a very special guest. I'd like to be able to introduce to you Dr. Candace Holmes. She's a natural brain transformation specialist, author, and speaker. She's going to tell us how the brain works. And she got a beautiful book, but I'm going to let you talk to her
Got you.
and we get through. Welcome, Candace. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for joining
Well,
and
it's a pleasure to be
sharing.
here.
All
Yes, thank you
right.
so much. Thank you so much for having me. Yes,
So
yes.
tell me, how did you get into the natural brain space?
Well, I have two daughters. My oldest was diagnosed with ADHD when she was about 7, and her dad and their dad and I were already divorced, you know, for a
Mhm.
few years. And when she received that diagnosis, I was in denial because I'm thinking nobody in my family has that, and you don't know what you're talking about. It's just a catch-all
Right,
diagnosis.
right.
My doctor is in chiropractic, and we stay away from medications as often as possible.
Mhm.
I did not want to dim her light or, to make her have any side effects that were possible from taking medication. So
Yeah.
time went on, and I found out about neurofeedback, which is the therapy that I practice through one of our chiropractic magazines that had an article about it.
Hmm. And so you said, okay, if there's something wrong with my daughter's brain, I'm gonna figure out what it is and try to be able to start the healing process without medication and with using the brain and the body's natural healing abilities. And
Absolutely.
and how did that? Because I know that we have a lot of viewers who children or themselves have gotten that diagnosis. So how did that work? How old is she now, and
Oh,
how is
yes.
she?
Oh goodness. Okay, so before my daughter's wow, she'll be 21 and I mean she'll be 22. Ooh, in May.
Whoa, you
I'm
getting
too young to have
old.
a 22-year-old, upcoming 22-year-old,
Right,
and her
right.
sister will be 20. So it worked well because she was struggling in school. Like she was struggling so much I didn't think she'd go to college. She was she liked focus and attention. She was having social challenges, with being awkward, and it was taking about 5 hours a night to do homework every night. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm so
wow.
thankful that her sister's gifted and accelerated because all the energy that I had after I finished working was with her, till midnight every night.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
after this therapy, she went from struggling in school to, getting A's in honors chemistry and physics when she was in high school, from lacking social awareness of being awkward to having tons of friends, from lacking focus and attention to being the most focused in class, according to her teachers. And
Wow.
so now she is a junior at Savannah State, the Savannah State, she'll have me say. I'm a Xavierite, so, but anyhow, studying to be an environmental chemist. And she's
Okay.
always on the president's list or the dean's list every semester. And I couldn't be more thankful because
Oh,
it was a struggle.
absolutely.
And it was a struggle
Congratulations.
before.
Absolutely. So tell us about the neurofeedback and the name of the device or how it's used.
Sure, sure. So neurofeedback is a learning modality. So it's a sophisticated form of biofeedback. So essentially what it does is it trains the brain to learn how to regulate itself. When the brain is unregulated or dysregulated, that's when you start having symptoms from like uh, certain conditions like anxiety, ADHD, autism,
Mhm.
depression, migraines. It's also used for enrichment. So I use it for stress relief. I also use it to make sure that my cognition stays sharp as long as it can.
Mhm.
I've had patients who've had traumatic brain injuries and concussions from playing, football and other sports that sometimes aren't supposed to be non-contact sports, but end up becoming a
Yes.
contact sport.
Right.
So it's all inclusive because everything starts in the brain. Once you
Right.
get the brain regulated, so it learns how to regulate itself, everything else just flows naturally, and all those symptoms from those conditions just start disappearing, and it's a beautiful thing.
So how long does the whole process take? For someone say that they were diagnosed with ADDH or depression, because we're getting a lot of that, and anxiety. How long? I know it's definitely depends
Sure,
on the
sure.
person and how long they've had it and so forth. But if you could give us a general idea, first, how long does it take to do the neurofeedback if they were to come to do a session with you?
Sure, sure. So the beauty of neurofeedback is that, especially in my programs, it's portable now. So my patients complete their sessions at home. Each session is only 30 minutes long, and
Okay.
it takes. My goal is for them to complete at least two a day. So an hour a day.
An hour a day.
An
That's
hour a day.
doable.
That's just an hour a day.
Yes.
Most people have time for an hour a day, especially if it's going to improve
Prove their
their
health.
whole
Yes.
quality of life. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So on average, if a patient has a straightforward case, meaning that they don't have any metabolic issues or anything like that, then they can start seeing results after about 30 sessions. So with my program, after about 2 weeks of
Oh,
completing two sessions
wow.
a day,
Two
it's as
weeks.
fast as that.
Wow, that is very, very impressive. Is it
Mhm.
something that they put on their head or so it's
Sure.
a cap with
Sure.
electrodes and so forth?
Sure. So the process is that in my office we have a discovery call just so I can you can answer I can answer all your questions because most people haven't heard about this. It's been around for over 60 years, and I
Yes,
understand that people have questions,
yes.
so I answer their questions. And then if I determine that they are a candidate, then they come to my office if they're located in Georgia, and we have a consultation. If they're outside the state of Georgia, then I have a national practice, so then I'll see them on Zoom.
Hmm.
And during that time, I'll get more in depth with their questions to qualify them because not everybody is a candidate. I mean, the majority are, but there are some people who just have conditions that
Yeah.
um, it's
Yeah, it's
they only
probably
mitigate the symptoms.
that's right.
It's
Yeah,
So I always tell people there are ranges of this.
that's right.
So
Because we need to know and set realistic goals and to make sure that
expectations,
they
absolutely,
qualify. Absolutely.
absolutely.
So, so when they come to you, what's the majority of people that come to you? Is it TBI? Is it ADHD? Is it depression, stress?
Sure, sure.
How do they
They
find
run the
people?
gamut. I've
Okay.
had recently a lot of those on the spectrum, people on the spectrum,
Mhm.
children and adults. So this therapy is great for those as young as 5 years old and up. So ADHD as well, and traumatic brain injuries and concussions, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
There's quite a few who are having mental fog, brain fog,
Oh,
memory issues
really?
um,
So, yeah,
from
because I
what
know a
happened
lot of
for 4 years.
postmenopausal women
Yes,
are
that
going
that
through the mental fog.
absolutely. And also the pandemic, results of the pandemic that people have been through. So the isolation, like you said, the
Yeah,
depression, suicide
depression,
rates are
right?
up, unfortunately. So
Mhm.
there's a lot. Some people feel hopeless with
Yeah,
things going on at this time. I
right.
was going to say it like that. Things
So
going on
I'm
at this
not going
time.
to ask you how much it costs, but I know people are wondering, is it covered by any insurance?
Of course not.
Yes, right.
I am a
I try to
conspiracy
let
theorist.
people know that
All
you're
the good things
not
aren't covered.
investing in us, they're investing in themselves and their health. And what cost is it for the value to get your quality of life?
That's like
What
I
I
tell
mean, if
everybody
you
that I
want
know
peace
that
of mind, what would you pay for peace of
it's
mind?
priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Like
Yeah,
I've been a single mother since my daughters were 2 and 4.
yeah,
I found the resources to invest in this system to get my daughter better.
yeah, that's right.
I mean,
And so,
I can't. So I just don't have sympathy for people who don't understand the importance of uh, doing something because you've already done everything else.
yeah,
You've already
I
done
mean,
everything
look
else.
at
You
what
pay
she
this
was.
money every month
Yeah,
for insurance, and then you still have to pay a whopping amount. And are you any better?
okay,
The neurofeedback is effective in 75 to 80% of the population. Drugs can't give you that percentage.
absolutely. And what about side effects?
Exactly. No side effects. And
Side
these results can
effects.
last up to 30
I
years.
mean, I
It's
had
like
to say that for real
yes, no side effects. I mean,
because
and this is the thing, like investing in this program, I tell people, let's say you're just better for 5 years.
yes,
Extrapolate that investment over 5 years, it's nothing.
that's right.
Probably pay more for that in a car payment or something that doesn't affect you directly. And I didn't get the chance to answer the question about what the system looks like. So you'll come in and you'll wear a cap for the brain mapping, which is
Yeah.
an objective finding. So it's a functional assessment to show me and you what areas of your brain are functioning well and where you have some challenges.
So
And
they
then
get
the
to see
actual
the image of the brain on your
Yes.
computer. Okay.
Yes. So it's not, it's not, I know some people are used to seeing the beautiful, colorful video
Yeah.
brain
Right.
that's $1 million plus machine that I do not
Okay.
have access to at this time. I wish I
Right.
had resources to have that, but that's not what I have. That's not
Okay.
what I have. But you do have a representation where it shows you in some pretty colors, some areas that again need some help. And then the actual training sessions that are done at home, you're just putting some sensors on your scalp using paste so it's non-invasive, it's drug-free, and it doesn't hurt. I've had
Right.
people say, oh my gosh, you're going to shock me or shock my children or shock.
Right. That's I know. Thank you for saying that because I know people are going to say that.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I
So
wouldn't do
it's
that to my child. I wouldn't do that to you. No, we don't.
right.
Non-invasive. No,
It
doesn't
sounds
hurt.
like it's similar to when you have an EEG and they place the electrodes on there.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
So the brain mapping is called a QEEG. It's a quantitative EEG.
Okay.
And that's how we get the protocol because each person's brain mapping is unique to them. So that's why I love it because I have tailored care plans to make sure that your brain is getting what you need. So after you finish a training session, all that data comes back to my computer and I monitor you remotely. When your brain has reached the pattern that I need it to be in order for you to progress to the next protocol, then I'll have you come back in. You'll do another brain mapping, and then the computer will compare the first to the second, second to the third, third and the fourth. And I love that because you start noticing the symptoms get better,
Yeah.
and you also have data to back up,
Back
your
up.
your feelings. I was like, yes,
Right.
I had one patient who's she suffered a really bad accident. Her car turned over, tire iron grazed her skull. It was really bad. And she is a more severe case, of course, because she had more issues, and it took her 2 years before she worked with me. So, you know, I understand. I understand. And I recommended my severe program to her, and she and her husband chose the mild. And I said, okay, I understand people sometimes don't, they're a little hesitant and because
Yeah.
it's not something that they've heard before. And
Right.
so I called her after about 2 weeks and I said, so how's it going? She said, oh my gosh, Doc, I'm so glad you told me. You asked me. She said, my kids aren't getting on my nerves anymore. She said, I'm not depressed. I'm getting out the bed. She said, I'm back to writing again. She has a doctorate in education and she has written articles and she was writing a book, but had to stop because those thoughts weren't coming clearly to her in order for her to express them through writing. And she
Yeah.
said, and then it was time for her to come back. And her husband came with her. Her husband said, I don't even need another brain mapping. I've got my wife back. I already know. And I
I
was like,
love it.
I was like, oh my gosh. And she was like, I know, but I still need the data. I said, I know you do. I know you do. And of course, we did her follower brain mapping and
Yeah.
everything was going well. So
So
yes.
how do you do the brain mapping if it's virtual? Is it that they
So I
have
have
to?
Good question. I have colleagues all over the nation, and so I will set you up with them, and you can go to one who's close to where you live, so that you have to
Mhm.
worry about flying in. I've had some patients who are like, "I'll just fly in." I said, "You don't have to." I said, "If you want to, that's up to you." The data is going to be the same whether you're up the street or with me. So once I get that data, then I manage their cases remotely.
Okay. So they'll go to your referral. They'll do the brain mapping, give you the information. They get the electrodes and whatever else
Oh no, I
mailed
send
to
that to
them.
them. They're just go there for the brain mapping.
Right.
So
So you'll send that to them after
exactly, to
they've
the
gotten the
patient.
referral.
Exactly. It's just like you're going
Okay.
out for blood work. The
Yeah.
the people who take your blood don't go over the report with you. Your doctor
Right.
does. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll do.
Okay,
Yes.
that sounds
Yes.
wonderful, and especially the results on that. So tell us a little bit about your book. Did you write the
Oh,
book about your experience?
thank you. Goodness. Woo. I truly understand why, what is it, 80% of the population wants to write a book, only 3% of the population does.
Yes.
You think writing the book was the most challenging part?
What was?
No, it was the editing. It was
Yes.
the
Yes.
production of it. That was oh my gosh. I was like, oh my gosh. Like
Yeah.
again, we have to it's
When I wrote my book, it was like I am so tired of reading this.
oh yes. And you read it so much, you miss things. And then it gets
Yes.
published and you
Yes.
send it out to your family, your friends and everything so they can read it and they find things, but then you be like, oh, how did I miss,
How did
this?
I miss it? So when my first book came, I looked at the box and it literally sat there for 2 days because I was so nervous to open.
Oh, you're like, I don't want to. And listen, I have a little extra pressure on my mom, has since passed, but however, she was a language arts educator. So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
grammar, everything
Yeah.
has to be correct. And then I
Yeah.
see a mistake and I'm like, oh, mom, I'm so sorry. I thought I got it. I thought I
Yeah.
got it. And then someone had to remind me that done is better than perfect. If
Absolutely.
85%, 90% of it is great, I'm
Yeah.
human. We're human. Even when we
That's
send it to
right.
editors, they may miss things. It's called Transform Your Brain with Neurofeedback. Boop. There we go.
Beautiful. I see
Came
it.
out last
Yes.
year.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Living
And
color.
and I wrote it because most people don't know what neurofeedback is, and I
That's
wanted to
right.
change that.
That's
It's
right.
it's such a fantastic way to change your outlook, change your life, change the quality of your life or the life of your loved ones. And
Yeah.
had I known about it back then and I accepted the diagnosis, I was just my daughter would have been better faster because I didn't start with her or until she was 13. That's when I learned about the therapy. And remember, she was diagnosed at 7. So that was the
Seven, right.
longest 13 years of our lives, I should say, because woo,
Hmm.
it's a lot.
So during those 6 years before she started to go do the neurofeedback. You were just working with her.
I was working with her. I had to put on a 504 plan. I was a substitute teacher during some of that time, and the educators were telling me about the 504 plan and how she can't help that she has ADHD. And I was like, "Pff, yes, she can. I'm a cafeteria Catholic. You know, I grew up in Catholic school. You know,
Mhm.
you just did what you were told, and,
Oh,
and there
that's
was an
right.
order to things. What do you mean you don't understand? What do you mean? I was like, she's just doing this on purpose just to, get me upset. I was just, and I had a lot of mommy guilt after I found out that was not the
Yeah,
case,
it was not the
So
case. Yeah.
yes,
And it
yes.
is because, you see your child differently at home. And of course, they do act differently than at home than outside the home. And then especially with school, there's a lot of pressures and teachers begin to label and treat you a certain way. So it's really hard to really assess, is that true? So
Yeah.
I get it. And I'm glad that I said that because there's a lot of folks out there who may be in denial. But at least, what would you say to someone who may be in denial?
Ooh, the thing that really got me was when I understand that there tends to be a hereditary component to this.
Mm,
Because since no one on my family had it, but guess what? They have a dad. I didn't think
that's
about
right.
his side of the family until I was like, oh, wait a minute, genetics? Wait a minute, And so,
Yeah,
even though I'm a doctor, sometimes, you're just so far in it, you don't see things. And
that's
so
right.
I called his cousin and she was like, well, and I'm like, oh, so I'm punishing my daughter. And like my mom said, she got it honestly. She got it honestly, is what she was saying. So
Got
I did
it.
apologize to my daughter, because she used to apologize to me for having it. And I said, sweetie, no. I said, you realize if
Oh,
this didn't happen, that I wouldn't know about neurofeedback therapy. I wouldn't be able to share it with people. I wouldn't be able to, change other people's
yeah,
lives. Everything happens for a reason. This is
that's
part
right.
of the order of how it
Order.
was to
That's
go.
right. That is, she doesn't know what wonderful healing she's been able to give just even through her story
Yes,
of going through that. I mean, I just can't wait to see, what else comes through with this. I really would suggest people who are suffering from any depression or stress that can't go away, maybe they've had some brain injury, a car accident a while ago. Let's go ahead and think of the different ways that we can heal. That's what this platform is all about, letting people know that I'm not fighting against pharmaceuticals because everything has its place. But let's try the alternatives and see how well we can do that without having to have the side effects. And that's really what I'm pushing, that there are many different ways to heal. And so
absolutely.
your book, what does your book talk about?
My book talks about just the history of neurofeedback, and then it goes through my story and my daughter's story. And then I also included, instead of calling them case studies, my friend said, call them case stories. So some case
Oh, I
stories in
like that.
there
I
about,
like that. Yes,
I
yes,
have such a good support system around me.
yeah.
And I detailed, the different conditions that people came to me with, the different therapies that they've tried before starting with me, and just their wonderful success stories.
Oh,
It's such a
case
blessing
stories.
to be.
Because case stories really sound, okay, let me read about this. A case study sounds so academic and
Yes.
cold, and it's like, I ain't gonna read that.
Well, and that's another point too. I read this for, yeah, everyone. I don't want you to have to get a glossary or go on Google to figure out what that word is.
Right.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
How fun is that? It's not fun. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
fun. So
right. How can people get your book?
sure, they could go to book with Dr. H. No, they go to my website, excuse me, braincoreofduluth.com. That's brain core, like an apple, CORE, of D as in dog, ULUTH.com. And they click on the order, signed copy, and they can get that directly from me. And I'll even address it to your favorite person.
Oh, that is wonderful. And it's a great gift, you all. Mother's Day is coming. Give a mother a break.
Yes,
This
yes,
is
yes,
all
yes,
we're recording this in the month of March, which is Women's History Month. Give a
yes.
woman a
Woo,
break.
woo. Hey,
Give
thank you for
her
all
a
the women who have come
break.
before us, for sure.
Absolutely.
I would
Well,
also like to make an offer too.
yeah.
If they would like, I would love to give your audience members the a first chapter of my book, just as a free offer. All they
Okay.
have to do is send the word brain, two words, brain lady, so I know it came from you. Brain lady, THEE, brain lady, to my email address, which is Dr. Holmes at braincoreofduluth.com. So DRHOLMES at braincoreofduluth.com, and I'll send it right out.
Okay, got it. I got it. Well, thank you. You hear that? Just even giving you a free offer. So listen, read the first chapter. I know you'll be hooked. I'm hooked already. So before you go, I always ask my guests three questions. How do you take care of your heart physically?
Physically, I went walking yesterday with my daughter. My goal is to do that at least 3 times a week. My daughter is recovering from midterms, and she tends to sleep in, the same one who this therapy
Yes,
helps. And
yes,
so I gave her a 3 hour notice. I'm like, hey, after I finish here, I'm gonna go walking, lady. Want to go with me? And she said, sure. And I was like, okay, she wants to go. So that's the
good.
physical part of taking
So
care of my
the,
health.
and how do you take care of your health for the emotions, emotionally?
Oh, the emotions. I do neuroscribing, which is
Oh,
using the brain's fantastic way of organizing information. And it's actually to be prayer and journaling at the same time, called neuroscribing. I actually have a master class that's coming next month for that. So I get
oh,
the most beautiful book I have, and then
uh-huh.
every day I write and I write and I
All
write.
right. Oh,
And
neuroscribing. So is that where you just write, they give you a topic and you just write, or
so
and for a
this
certain amount
this
of
one
time?
has activating words that we use to bring your five. Well, I always say your five top priorities, but whatever that those are to existence. As a man thinks, that's how he speaks. So
Mhm.
writing actually activates different parts of the brain to bring that to light. Most people don't write anymore. Our children don't write in cursive anymore, and you wonder why there's a disconnect. I was a
Yeah.
substitute teacher for 4 years, so I can go on and on. So I'm just
I
gonna take a
know you
breath and
can,
take a
and
break.
I'm definitely pro right. I know we use our phone to put our notes, but there is something with that tactile,
Absolutely.
and being able to see it tangible, and also from a spiritual level, it kind of it reinforces.
Absolutely.
It helps that manifestation. And so the
Absolutely.
last question is, what do you do for your spiritual heart?
So my spiritual heart, that's part of the neuroscribing as well.
Yeah.
And I have a daily prayer practice. I pray in the morning, I pray at night, and I pray all throughout the day, especially when I'm getting cut off in traffic.
Yes, yes, yes. It does help.
Yeah, it does. It does. I used
Yeah,
to honk my horn and get so upset, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
this isn't helpful to anyone. Just I
Yeah, I
take a
used to
breath and
get
I
some
say,
anxiety just being on the highway and it's bumper to bumper and you can't move. I used to get okay, and you start and I just put on my music and jam and
that's
jam. I
it.
don't call
That's
anybody.
it.
I put on my music and I
That's
soothe
it.
myself that way, and it works. And as you said, during that time, you given a silent prayer as
Yes. Lord, help
well.
me through this. Help them through it. I was
Pilot,
like,
I'll be patient to
woo.
be the pilot.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It's also helpful if you can call a friend during that time, say,
Okay.
hey, what you doing? What's going on? I'm just stuck in traffic. Thought I'd give you a call. I got time. I got
As
time.
as long as I have my earpiece.
That's it. That's
All
it.
right, Donna. Dr. Candace Holmes, it was an absolute pleasure on
Likewise.
teaching us, sharing with us your story and what neurofeedback is. I am definitely encouraging you, Heartbeats, to check out her book. Show us your book one more time. All right. So this book, Transform Your Brain with Neurofeedback by Dr.
Yeah.
Candace Holmes. And if you don't know what neurofeedback is, pick up the book so you'll learn more. And you think that it just when you hear neuro, people may think of nerves, but it's a whole lot more than that. So thank you so much. And we will look forward to hearing much more success stories from you. You have an absolutely wonderful day. Heartbeats. I told you I got a special guest for you. Check out, I'll leave the link below so that you will be able to also get her. And remember, she's giving away a free chapter. So
That's right.
have a good one. Take care of
Thank you
your
so
heart
much.
so your heart will take care of you.